Welcome to Dave's Imaginations, the final in a series of videos where we've been building the Nebulipedes metallic model. Yeah, we're finally to the end. Finally to the end. In this video, we will install the magnets across the bottom. And I'll warn you as you do that you do not want to over tighten those, as the magnet can and will break, as I did break one. I didn't break it as I was assembling, but as I set them on the ground, on the table, they collapsed together and the magnet broke then. Also, I'd warn you, this I look correctly, because later on I learned that I didn't do the head right, that I put the screw head on the wrong side of that magnet. There's a concave part to this magnet. I don't know if you can see that. There's concave, and the bolt head's supposed to nestle right in there, and it obviously it does, but I didn't do it correctly on the head, and I had to go back and take it apart and redo it. Very frustrating. But so first part of this video is magnets, and that's in steps 80 through 88, and then I skipped a step. Previous video I saved for later installing the fiber optic tubes and fiber optic strips. Now, the first time I tried to do that, I did it with the orange one that I ultimately broke. I put the tube in through the W17 brackets that hold them, and then I later tried to feed the LED or fiber optic strip through it. I used a lot of oil, and yet still when I got to that last inch, it broke. It came detached from its power supply. That was frustrating. So then the next time when I did the blue, I fed the fiber optic strip through the tube first before I added it or fed that tube with the fiber optic strip through the W17 brackets, and ultimately that worked, and I think it looks pretty good. Now, I will say, as you feed it through, that's not easy. It's very tedious. Getting it through all those hoops was hard. You have to reshape those hoops and reshape them again and pull them with your pliers and tweezers to get it through. Ultimately, I got it through, and I think it's pretty good. So that is the fiber optics. And then once you get the fiber optics in there, then you finally ultimately connect the power supply, you turn it on, and you marvel at your creation, which is exactly what I did. I marveled at it. So that is what this video is going to be. I do those final steps, and then I have a little revealing. You'll see my reaction as I turn it on for the first time. I was pretty amazed, and I think it looks pretty good. And then ultimately at the end of the video, stay tuned at the end of the video as I give you some of my final thoughts on the whole process and the model in general. So stay with me, and we'll get right to it. We're on step 80. So we'll set this aside just for now, and we'll do those magnetic, what I'm calling the magnetic brackets. So step 80, we need SC2-6. All right, that's these small. Those look like a small bolt. SC2-6. We're going to need 5 of them. We're going to create 5 of these assemblies. So I'll do what we've done in the past. I'll create one, and then we'll do the rest off camera. So SC2-6, MG S10. That's going to be a magnet S10. Okay, so this is a solo only magnet in that S10 size. But it says there's 10 of them. Oh, that's the N10. That's why. Oh. And those magnets, they want to snap together. Go figure that. That's probably a good thing, right? But there's our 5 magnets. Magnet S10, B5, Baker 5. All right, that is this bracket. Baker 5, we should have 5 of those. MPs, we got those washers are out, and S2s, we got those nuts out. All right, so let's unbag these. 5 of the B5, which is exactly what we have left. So we're done with the B5s. And the magnets, we need 5 of those. Yeah, it looks like we have 1 extra magnet, so I'll take 1 of those off. I'll leave it in the bag, and maybe that's because they know they break. I've heard that these magnets can break if you over tighten. So let's see, does it even say that? Please screw gently in case of damaging the MGS10. MGS10 is the magnet. So we got 5 of those. Do not over tighten. Please screw gently. You want snug, but you don't want it too tight. Okay. And then SC2-6, we need 5 of those as well. Let's get this oriented a little bit. How hard is this going to be with that magnet? SC2-6. We'll take one of those magnets off. And it looks like we just feed. Okay, so the screw is not is not metal. Apparently, it's not being magnetized. Maybe it's aluminum or something. I don't know. I don't know my metallurgy to know what. Oh, it does. It does. It is magnetizing. It is magnetizing. Okay, but so the magnet, there is a concave side, and looking at the picture, you do want to go through the concave side. All right, we will try to feed that bolt through there. Okay, seems to work. It does want to try to flip on you. All right, and then we take one of those B5 brackets and we feed it through, and then we washer in a nut. All right, how hard can it possibly be? A washer, and now we got to put a nut on all that. I'm going to recommend bending the bracket out. For my chunky hands, I separate that bracket out a little bit, and let's see if that becomes a mistake. And everything wants to flop over to that magnet. As I fiddle with this to get it on there, I have opened up that bracket, and I don't know if that's going to be a mistake or not. And now that I got the washer on there, let's see if I can just need one thread of that bolt, and then we're golden. But that bolt is tiny, tiny, tiny. And it wants to jump to the magnet. Sometimes I think, wouldn't a little nut driver be nice? All right, now you can see I've bent mine all the heck. So we'll try to straighten that out. But I'm going to get a couple more threads on that bolt before I do that. And with that magnet, it tends to want to jump. Now, this is where they say don't over tighten. And so before I tighten any more, I'm going to try to fix this bracket. And hopefully I can just squeeze it. Just squeezing it brings it back. Now it's loose, and I can finish up. Now you can see it's loose. I can tighten just snug. Right? Note says, please screw gently in case of damaging the magnet. We don't want a magnet. We don't want to damage that magnet, but we do. I think we need it more snug than that. I've got that on there. It's not centered great on the bracket. That has me a little concerned. I have it tightened enough that you can't move it. I might loosen it and see if I can center it a little better. A little bit more centered on the bracket. I like that better. I don't know if that's going to matter later or not. And if we look here, how many threads do I have? If I take out my super duper glasses here, it looks like I might have 1 or 2 threads outside that nut, just to give you a sense of how much tight. And I can't move that nut by my fingers, so that's where we're going to leave it for now. So I'll go off camera. I'll finish up the other 4 of these. Okay, so there's the sub-assemblies for 80. The magnetic sub. Here's 4 of them. There's a 5th one here, but I think it's probably jumped and magnetized some. These things are pretty strong magnets, and you get them pretty close to. Let's see how close you need to get until they jump. Oh, that's not too bad. See, they jump. They jump and connect, and it's kind of cool, but it also can be kind of annoying when all of a sudden the bolt you're working on flies over, and then you have to grab it. Getting these on was a fiddling, so bending the bracket open was really, for me, necessary for it to... Oh, looky there. It broke. Well, they gave me an extra one. I will fix that later. Wow. That broke just by jumping from one to another. I will take one of the ones that isn't broke. Make sure they're separate. So these are pretty fragile. You can see one of them broke. And there's another one floating around here somewhere. I don't know what happened to it. And so, but we need this part for the next step. We are now on step 81. Step 81, and we're going to do the last set of legs, which includes these feet. So for that, we need the SE2-25. We need the MP washer. We need the S2 nut. We need a D8 decorative pieces, 2 of those. A C24. C24 is another spacer decorative piece. We need W21 and an S2 nut. To orientate this a little bit as the picture is, we have our bolt, and we put a washer on that bolt, as we so often do. We put a leg on there, one of the leg assemblies from step 16. And we will have that point toward the body. Now, these are like the other legs. You need to put that W21 around the top. As I flip this over, you can see all the other ones I've done, one of which I did the opposite. Hopefully that doesn't matter. But this will sit on top of this like all the others. But to do that, I've been bending them because they don't just fit the way they are. You have to widen them out, and you may notice I've got 2 sets of pliers. I did the plasma spider. I had a set come with that, but I think needle nose pliers are pretty common. You probably have a set in your toolbox. If you don't, ask your dad or ask someone, and they certainly do. Very common tool. And we will open that bracket up a little bit more so that it will come down around the outside of the Nebulipedes. And to get the open slotted edge on the same side, and we just slide that in there. Now that has to go in between the iridescent EP5, right, and these brackets. And to get that to work, I've been bending that bracket in just a little bit to get that to work. This isn't a B5 bracket. These are two individual brackets, which, okay, I think I have enough space now. Just a millimeter, but I do need two things to go in there. I need both this piece, this W21, but you also need that D8 decorative piece that also needs to be able to slide in there. I have all the bolt heads are on the same side of the Nebulipedes, so we'll try to do that also for this. The bolt, a washer, the leg segment, then it goes through the EP5, and then that's between the EP5 and that new piece, that new W21 piece, is where I've been putting that. If this is the same as all the other ones, iridescent EP5, then the decorative D8, then the ring of the W21. It looks something like that. I don't know, it's kind of hard to see. I know this all this is hard to see. And then you try to get all those to line up so you can get that leg through there, but not too far through there because you have stuff you need to put in the inside. And sometimes I found that you can actually screw it into it, and that will actually get it to work. Because it was so tight, you could actually screw that bolt even though you didn't have a washer on the other side, and it would start to feed through those holes. But here you can see, welcome to my life, right? This is a feat of dexterity, and I am not known for my dexterity. Making it a little easier is that this particular bracket, because you don't have a B5 and it's two separate pieces, the bracket seems to be reducing in size on its own. And because it's on the outside, this, unlike the other ones, I can have that W21 piece. I can slide this in, at least to get it started. There, got it started. I got that hoop inside there. I got a leg on there. So easy to forget one of the things you need, such as this magnetic bracket, which is one of the main things we're going for, as well as this decorative piece need to be in there. So next thing to be in here is this. And it looks like maybe I need to squeeze it just a little bit. Oh boy, if I break that magnet, it's gonna be a sad day. But yet, this piece still needs to fit. You can only squeeze it so much because you got to have that piece in there. The decorative, what is that, C24? See, this piece has to fit in there. And once hopefully it'll pinch it right in just the right spot so that when I slide this in, got it. The opposite side, I don't have the decorative piece on yet. That's going to be really tight. I need this over the top. Fish that bolt through this eyelet. Sure, there's no wiggle room. You just got to aim and hit it. And you know, when I back this out a little bit, so you might be able to see that I am able to screw that. And if I can get it just right, then it might be a little easier to get aligned. Yeah, I only want a thread in there because I would like it to catch just a little bit as I slide it in. As you do this, your blood pressure rises, you get a little warm. I'm working in a basement, so it's naturally a little cooler down here. So that's why I wear that hoodie a lot. But then my blood pressure rises and I get a little hot. So we'll throw it off to the side for a while as cool off. Calm down, take a breath, and we'll try to get it again. It's way over there. Got it. Woohoo! It takes quite a bit of fiddling. And now, right about now is when I realize, I missed a piece, and they got to do it all again. Happened to me a number of times as I've been doing these legs. But I think I'm good with this one. I still need to put the other leg on, a washer and the bolt, but that's is usually the easier part. Now I got that through, I can just toss a washer on there, toss a bolt on there. Oh, see, I almost did it. I almost forgot the other leg. I gotta throw it on there. Now I should be able to grab it, tighten it up. Legs bend a little bit, but they're still feeling a little snug. And then step 82, as they all have been, is just angle those out so that they point downward. That was steps 81 and 82. We got a magnet. I think that's where the head's going to go. All right, so now we're on 83. 83, and this looks like we're starting to add the magnets to the underside of the Nebulipede. So looking at steps 83 and 84, 85, and 86, they all seem to be the same set of instructions. So let's just do 83. For step 83, again, we're going to flip this over. We're in step 83, SC2-25, MP, a D8, and S2. S2 are just these bolts. Close. We're getting close. This is step 83 of 88. So 5 steps left. Can we do it? Yes, we can. Yeah. Let's get this done. Let's get this done. Then we'll have to go back and do some of the steps we've missed. All right. But first, we're going to do this step 83, 84, 85, and 86. And we'll see how it goes. Okay. So we take the SC2-25. We're going to put a washer on that. We're all the way to the front. Oh, this is the back end. So they've already used that. That's the step 67 we missed. So we're going to put that. We're going to slide that through. Just slide that through this spot right here. There's open bracket space. It's actually probably easier to see in instructions here and here. We're going to slide the bolt through there, and we're going to put that magnet on the underside. All right, and that's how we're going to be able to stick this to the side of the refrigerator. I'm a little bit hesitant. Is it going to block anything? No. So why don't we just spread open the legs? They move easy enough. We'll slide that guy in. Any surprises, or is this just going to work? It seems like it ought to fit. Okay, I got the one side started. Going through the bracket, the sub-assembly that we made in step 80 through to the other side. Okay, now now once you get it through, the magnet kind of holds it in place. That's kind of nice. As we're gonna do a washer on the opposite side, and we'll start a nut, and then we'll see if we can't just tighten that up. Okay, I got it started. Let me tighten this up, and we'll give you a look at how it ended up. This bolt seems quite long for what we're doing, but I don't mind it being easy. Could we have an easy step? I won't cry about an easy step. Of course, eventually I will have to fish the LED tube through it because I skipped that step. Am I gonna have to redo a whole bunch of this stuff because I skipped that step? I don't know that this is going to be tight. I think this is just going to flop around. I'd have to tighten that significantly for it to be firm. I think for now, I'm just going to leave that loose. I think I'll be able to tighten that later if I feel it's necessary. Maybe you can see that. This is what I just did right here. This piece right here. The camera will focus right there. You notice it's loose. That's okay for now. I'll tighten it later. Maybe. We'll see. If I care. Maybe it's okay if it's loose, right? This is just hold it to the fridge if you want it, right? So now I had those legs. I'm just going to move those legs back in position. Look at how loose that leg is. We're going to tighten that up right now. So watch for apparently lesson learned there is watch for the legs to loosen as you manipulate. All right. Oh, and then once you get that bolt on there, notice that you can't move that leg very much more. Its mobility is restricted by that bolt. So, but we're going to go on to the next one. Matter of fact, I'm going to do the next 4. I'm going to do the next, I guess it's 3 now. Next 3, and then when I'm done, we'll come back and we'll see where we're at. All right, so I got steps, 83 through 86 done, adding the magnets. It took a little fiddling. You might notice that when I did the first one, like so often happens, I forgot to add the D8 decorative pieces, so I had to take it apart and put it back together. Thankfully, this step is not one of the hardest. Pretty happy with how that turned out. There's a lot of fidgeting here. We're gonna have to see how that goes, and I still have skipped step 67 and added those LED strips. I'm gonna have to do that pretty soon. However, I'm looking at the next step, which is step 87, and this is another problem, right? We had in the previous step, I don't know, was step 81, we added the magnet to the neck. We'll call it the neck. And so that is where the head's supposed to go. But watch this. Uh-oh. Went all the way back. When I assembled the head, you add this magnet to the back of the head, which sandwiches all these pieces together. You got this bolt right here, and this bolt here, this nut there. And you might notice, and someone probably noticed as I put it in there, screaming, no! As I put this together, I put this magnet on backwards, right? When we did the steps we just got done with, we noticed that the bolt went through the concave side of the magnet. I did not notice there was a concave side of the magnet when I put this together. As I look back to the extra magnet we have in here, where did I put it? Right here. we can notice there is a concave side to this magnet. So I have to take apart this head, put back that magnet, and I'll leave when I put the piece of the video together. I'll put a note here on there, flash it on the screen or whatever, saying, "Hey, beware, put the magnet on correctly, or you're gonna have to rebuild it." All right, we will do that now. Step 67. Okay, step 67. Fastening the end caps here to the Nebulipede. That wasn't too bad. All right, but getting the LED tubes, the fiber optic tubes, through all the little hoops along the bottom of the Nebulipede, that was challenging. With the LED strip inside the tube. Actually, I did it twice, right? There's two of them. You got to do two of them. So you do. First I did the orange one, and for the orange one, I fed the tube through, and then I tried to feed the fiber optic through afterward. And I used a lot of oil to get this through, to get them work. I got the orange about an inch from the end, and I was really struggling to get that last inch, and it broke. It broke. So it's no longer connected. Feel bad about that. Frustrating. With that done, I then did the yellow, we'll call it yellow, the yellow side. And this, for the yellow side, I left the fiber optic in the tube as I fed it through. And I used a lot more oil as I did it. Now, as I did it, I also squeezed and fattened the hoops that they have to go through, and feeding it through, I made sure it kept it's done. Now, I haven't turned it on. So I don't really know if it's broken or not. All I know is I got it in there without the head nodule. I don't know what it's called. The black thing, without it falling off. So now I got it all hooked up, and I have the head on, and it looks really cool. It looks really cool. It's kind of cool that the head is magnetized. I think the head looks good. However, we do know that when I put the head together, I only got one light to work. So is that battery? I don't think I broke it, but only one of the eyeballs is supposed to have eyeballs do have LED lights in them, and I only got one to work. So I have not yet turned this on. So I guess I've done the step where you put the head on. I've done step 87. I put the head on. It's magnet, right? And then I had to fix the magnet. So I put the head on. Now we are to step 87, which is you use the L9 part that has the LEDs. That is the power supply for the LEDs. It looks as though it has USB connector, long cord. What is that, 3 feet? Oh, maybe. Probably 3 feet. 3 feet plus, maybe even 4. 4 feet? Not quite. But it's long. All right. And then you put it to this connector. Looks like it goes like this. You heard that little snap. Those connect. And then you connect this end. So you can see those little prongs, right? The prongs are going to line up. There's prongs in there, right? Line that up with the holes, and you slide those in. Now, of course, my orange side is not going to work. We know that's not going to work because it broke. But the yellow side, call it yellow. Yellow side, we're hoping still works. Snap, snap, those are in. You're going to see this as I do live. We're looking for this yellow side to light up when I plug in the USB. Got a USB power outlet right here. Could it possibly work? Ooh, it's blue. It does work. That's pretty cool. All right. I thought it was going to be yellow, but it's blue. Can I get the eyeball to work? Oh, I can take off the head to do that. Now for the eyeball, it's just a twist, right? Is that the side that was broken? Yeah, I can get one of the eyes to work, and it modulates to different colors. But I couldn't get the other side to work. It's a one-eyed Nebulipede, and the eye modulates. Yeah, it's still changing. There, it's red now. Okay, pretty cool. Another feature that it says it has is that it's got the magnets on the bottom, and you're supposed to be able to stick that up. However, the legs, at least how I have the legs right now, they stick too far down. So maybe I need to spread these legs out further and re-angle them so that I might be able to stick it on a piece of metal or something. So we will try that, and I will let you know how that works. So there he is. Nebulipedes. Nebulipedes. For me, he's a one-eyed, because the one LED I couldn't get him to work. One-eyed, one LED plasma, fiber optic, Nebulipede. I flattened out the legs about as much as I could, and I put it up against my refrigerator, and I couldn't get it to stick. Now, the magnets are strong, and this thing is weighty. There's some weight to this. So you'd need to make contact with all four of those magnets for it to stick to something. I'm thinking if I had some sort of metal rod, I might be able to stick it right up against there, and it could sit on it. It would need that extra space. But yeah, it's really cool. It's really the LED strip, the racing stripe. So you think of those race cars, street cars, right? And they put the racing lights underneath them. That's what this reminds me of. Undercarriage lights. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty darn cool. Pretty darn cool. Would I put it on my shelf? Absolutely. I'll put it on my shelf. Will I plug it in occasionally? The LED lights. The LED lights. This is a battery. It's going to go dead eventually. So I'm not going to do that. LEDs do last forever though. It is a really cool sculpt. It's amazing what they can do with all these little bitty parts. I am pleased with it. I'm very happy with it. My thoughts here, though, they started to run an ad with dad helping their kids. That dad's doing most of the work, right? So 14-year-old teenagers for sure. You got to be at least 13. Under that, I think you're just asking for a lot of crying and probably not a project finished. As this is certainly very challenging. I don't do many of these. I did the plasma spider few months ago. That was the second ever I did, and then I had done a scorpion years before, not with a different company though. Mostarle, you've designed a really nice, really cool product. I think for someone with more experience in building these could do a better job getting the feet aligned, and doing everything in the first try. I could see in the underside, a lot of my stuff looks somewhat, I don't know, not perfect. But in the end, you sit on the table, you don't look at that, right? You just see all these cool little barbs and feet and yeah, it looks really cool, right? The face looks really cool. It would look more cool with both LEDs working. I'm sure the customer support at this place seems really good. I'm sure if I called them up and said, "Hey, my LED didn't work," they'd probably send me a new one. Probably the same with the fiber optic strip, LED strip. Now I know I broke that, so it's hard for me to ask them for a new one of those. And I know I didn't follow the instructions on how to put that in, so that's shame on me. However, the other video I watched, one of theirs also broke, and they did follow instructions. So you gotta be super careful with that LED strip. Overall, super cool model. I like it. I recommend it. Yeah, sure. It was what, $80, I think it was. And I'll throw a correction if I don't. I'll put a link down to their website in the video below. Very neat. And hopefully you learned something as I did this. The oil in this is absolutely necessary. The magnets, definitely be careful. I did have one screw head pop off on me. Well, one thing I would say is that helped me do this was many of the metal pieces I needed to reshape. And to reshape them, I actually used 2 pairs of pliers. Pliers are very common. You should be able to find a pair of needle nose pliers in your garage somewhere. So I did use a second pair of needle nose pliers. Advice as you do this, kind of the same advice I gave with my other project. Take breaks. There's parts of this that get really frustrating, and you will want to take a step away, come back, especially doing the undercarriage and getting everything to fit. I would say this one's not as hard as the plasma spider was for me, so just keep that in mind. It was a little bit easier, but it's still very difficult. Still don't recommend it. It's teenager and above, and even those teenagers are probably, you have to have the right teenager to be able to do this. You have to have the right adult to do this. If you're not patient enough these parts are tiny, and I guess that was another thing I'd recommend is some sort of mat that you can set them on so they don't bounce all over the place. That would be another thing I would recommend. The glue trick didn't really work in this particular model, but I think there was one point when I used some poster tacky to hold things straight, and that did work. That did work very nice. Keeping things tight, it was important. At one point I had one of the spines come apart and I had to reassemble it. That was frustrating, but there's a delicate balance of making sure it's tight but not too tight, and you need some wiggle room to get these to work. So I was concerned that I wouldn't be able to put these together and having all those holes match up. They were a challenge, but I did ultimately get it. And at first, the Nebulipede was somewhat bowed, but I was able to flatten it out after I built it, so that was nice. Yeah, ultimately, I think it turned out really good. I'm pretty darn pleased with. Can you lift it up? It'd be nice if this could be posed more, but you're not gonna be able to do that with the design of this. So you could have it kind of standing up. I think the magnetic head is a cool feature to let it pivot around. So that's cool. I think the magnets on the underbelly are a really cool idea. So you could maybe put it on the fridge. I wasn't able to. I tried. I wasn't really able to. I think it's absolutely magnetic. I think it would support the weight if I got all 4 of the mags on the underbelly to work. Otherwise, it didn't quite stick for me. That is the Nebulipedes by Mostarle. I hope you like this. If you have any ideas of how to put this together, any tips or tricks you use, please put it in the comments. I don't do this for money. Right? I'm not making money off my YouTube channel. I do this for fun and to help people out. And so any comments you put in there, I appreciate it. Matter of fact, I didn't get sponsored. I didn't get paid. They did give me this model to put together because I'd done the previous Fire I bought with my old one money, and I did it and made the video. They liked the video, and they said, "Hey, would you do the video? Here's the Nebulipedes. Would you do a video for us?" And actually, they didn't even say that. They said they would love it if I would do it. They didn't coerce me. I wanted to. I was happy to take it. I had fun putting it together. I do recommend it. If you're into this type of thing, I think you'll enjoy it. The LED lights really make it cool, especially contrasted with the metallic nature of the sculpture, the insectoid sculpture. If you could polish it up, that would be even cool. Kind of that chrome look with the undercarriage light. So I think that's really cool. So yeah, if you have any thoughts about this, what I did, if you need anything, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to check out. I respond to most. My channel's so small, I can respond to most comments, at least react in one way or another. But I will also say, if you, for example, I reached out to them and asked them for a PDF of the instructions so I could use it in my video. They sent it to me. Don't ask me for that. I don't want to be sending everyone PDFs. I don't think that's my job to do. But if you reach out to them, I bet they would. Contact their customer. They would send you the PDF of their instructions. I found it helpful to be able to zoom in on that. So those are a couple of tips, and I hope you found something useful in this. If you did, please leave it in the comments. Otherwise, that's all I got. Mostarle Nebulipedes. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, take care.